Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended, and in this video I am going to show you my top 10 PVE base locations over on Extinction. Now there will be a couple of bonuses in here, so it'll be a little bit more than 10 technically, but I'm going to show you my favorite spots to build over on Extinction when it comes to just being a PVE or just a generic base location to have. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start in each of the areas. Just so you can see the map, I'm going to find a couple here for you. I'm going to find a couple here, a couple here, a couple in the Sunken Forest, and then believe it or not, a couple that you can actually use in the wasteland zone over in that region. So let's go ahead and get started. So obviously the best location in PvE is the Sanctuary because you're safe from pretty much everything. It's most central to pretty much everything in the game, and you're close to some of the more difficult resources no matter what. So one of the most popular places to build right here is it's called the Alpha Tree, or whatever you want. Basically, it's a super cool tree at the chords of 4593. And this entire tree or alpha platform is basically filled with just massive platforms that you can build on. You can build a multi-tiered base. You can bring water up there, I believe, unless they removed it. There's water access over here. On this side, they may have removed it, so I'm just kidding. But basically you can use this entire thing in order to build a gargantuan base with multiple levels, and the entire thing has like 15 different platforms. So you can have you and all of your friends can build on each and every one of these things, which is super cool. Now, obviously it's very popular on PvE servers to build here, so you might not get this location, but it's a really cool spot to build on that zone. Now, the next few spots I'm going to show you are all kind of similar to this, where you have area above the ground, where you don't just have to build in this like flat zone. Now, again, it's up to you if you like this kind of thing. I'm a big fan of the Extinction map for building PvE bases because there's a lot of zones that you can do it, and there's just some really neat locations. Now, next up on my list is another one of those platforms up in the sky. This one can be found at the coordinates that I'm at right now, 1890. That's not right. That's right, 4445. I was like, wait a minute. So 4445, if you go here, you can see there's even a little bit of a pool that you can grow quite a few water creatures in that you wouldn't believe you could grow in here. And this kind of like little depth area, it's like a mini above water pool. You kind of like those pools in real life, they're terrifying that you can see the ground. Yeah, it's one of those. But this entire zone is buildable, and you can kind of build up and into it as well. So it's a neat little location that you could certainly capitalize on and use for your advantage. Now, again, very easy to build here, and there's a little zone beneath that there's lots of room here. So for those of you that are like, it's not very big, it's got a lot of room to build vertically. So you're going to have to go a little bit more vertical, but the water alone makes it pretty heavily worth it. So that's kind of our next spot in the Extinction tour. Now, the next zone is another one of those high up locations. It's a little further down, but this one's much prettier in my opinion. And again, you'll see access to water, pretty key here. Small pool at the end over here. And the coordinates of this one, just so you can see, 4532. Now, this entire platform is also buildable. You have a little bit more resources growing up here, so it looks a little bit prettier for PvE. Plus this vines, I don't know, I think that's really cool. And if you want to be really cheeky, what you can do is I'm going to show you something kind of crazy. So you can kind of build. Oh, it's not going to let me land. Really, game? Let's see if it'll let me do it this time. There you go. You can technically squeeze your way into this and build inside of it. Now, I'm not able to get into here right now, but there's, oh, there we go. There we go. Got in. Okay. You can build inside of these things, which can be a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just a neat little zone to build just because, I don't know, it's just fun to build in those weird locations, right? So you kind of got to like wiggle your way in and out. But that's a very cool population, or a popular place to build. And again, there's the chords for you. So there's 3. Now, the next one, it's another one of these kind of top place locations. I like it because it's not near any spawns or resources or anything like that. It is right over here. Now, I like this one a lot because it overlooks the sulfur area, plus is close to a lot of resources that you might need. This one is a platform at 5935, and it's a much bigger overall platform. You can see that it kind of extends quite a bit. And then there's plenty of room on the back side. So you have enough room to pretty much put whatever you would want out on this platform. And it's just a good location to build in general. So yeah, definitely like this one a lot. So there's 4. Those are my 4 favorite over in this zone. I'm going to go and show you some over in this zone. By this zone, I mean the desert zone. Now, there's only really 3 that I like to build in the desert zone. First off, it's kind of hard to see here. Let's go ahead and change the time of day, set time of day. 10 o'clock. There we go. Now we can see. All right, so I like to build right above the desert cave because there's a lot of resources down there, plus lots of access to resources over here. And this is one of my favorite platforms to build on because you've got this structure. You can kind of turn this, I don't know, when I'm building in the scorched zones, I like to build like not dilapidated, but kind of broken down structures is where I like to build just because it's a cool thing to have as an exoskeleton to your base. And then you can build on this giant platform. It's a very popular spot to build on PvE servers because there's so much room and it's remarkably flat. The coordinates, just so you can see, are 9376. The entire zone is buildable and there's not very many dangerous spawns, but you have access to some really neat ramps that go down. And then obviously this cool little structure right here. It's a very popular place to build. And next to it, if you don't like that, it doesn't really count as a base, I suppose, is I like building on top of this flat thing because the entire thing is buildable. It is perfectly flat and you have plenty of access to all the resources that you're going to need. So it's kind of like a 1 and 2 base locations over here in order to build. Now, those are great spots to build. Now you can go there. The next one that I like to build in is this broken down structure over here. I really like this one because it's got the entire thing is just an open structure. You've got multiple layers that you can build on and you kind of turn the thing into whatever you want it to be, just like a big vertical base built inside of it. So it's like something that's already supposed to be there with the map. And that's kind of why I like it. And you can extend out into this one if you wanted to. It's just not quite as big. But yeah, I like building inside of these structures because I think it's really neat. I mean, that's personal opinion. So take that as you will. So these are the structures coordinates, just so you can see 8694. So the last one, and this is if you want to, again, don't have to, this is an if you want to, I like to build on these big flat platforms out here. Now, the one that I like the most, just so you can see, is not this one right here. It's off to the left. This one has this little steam thing. And because you have this giant platform right here, the only access to it is this little like walkway path on this side. So you can just put a wall quickly across here and secure this entire thing for yourself with a couple of foundations at the chords of 7681. And the entire thing is buildable. And it's just a cool little thing because you overlook the water. You have access to water. You're not too far from anything because you're right in the center of the scorched zone. Just a cool little location that you can build. So now the next one has some really cool spots, but it's more dangerous. And this is the snow biome. Now the snow biome base locations, a little bit different because they changed them from Extinction on just regular Extinction. So this structure is one of the coolest base locations that I've seen be usable. They changed this structure quite a bit from what it looked like over on Survival Evolved to Survival Ascended. The entire thing is kind of just a pre-built building that you can build stairs and whatever you want. And it's cool because it's literally just like a laboratory. Now, you will have to put walls and stuff up because things can get into it, like mammoths and stuff like that. But you have a really neat pre-built structure. So you can kind of turn it into whatever you want to turn it into. Just, you know, make it whatever you want it to be, which is what I really like about this game. Kind of customize it to what you want. Coordinates 2985. So there is another one of these structures up here. And this one's a little bit more broken down, but it's got a lot bigger room in the inside of it with some cool layers and stuff like that. You'll have to claim it pretty quickly because I think this one's going to be a popular one. But yeah, pretty cool because you got these like giant zones inside of it, but you can see the Managarmer is stuck inside with me. So it's something that you will have to put some structure down inside of in order to actually prevent, you know, stuff spawning in here. But it's a super cool, massive structure with a walkway that connects to it. So you certainly can't complain about it. Coordinates 1893. So those two are pretty cool. The last spot that I'm going to tell you about is the reason I like this last spot isn't because it's a structure. It's just because it's way out of the way and it's kind of funky. That's really the only reason I like this one. I'm trying to find it right now. Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah. All right. So this little tuck away corner over here, right? So I like this spot because two things. One, you can wall this off and have natural built walls on the side, or you can take this platform up here, or if you really want to get cheeky with it, you can take this entire zone. It's a little harder to build up here, but I like to build in this zone right here. Now, why would I build all the way over here? One, you're close to the snow cave, you're close to water, you're close to a lot of resources that you might need. And it's just a good little, I mean, honestly, it turns more into a teleportation zone than anything else, but this is a good spot to build. Chords 379 or 73. So just so you can see, you're close to the wastelands, which is kind of nice because you'll need to get some of those resources. And there's just a bunch of cool stuff over here, including Ice Cave. So those are the zones over there. Now I'll show you the actual Sunken Forest base locations. There's hundreds of base locations that you could have in the Sunken Forest, by the way, and it would still be super cool for you. So definitely understand that I'm not necessarily telling you to pin into one or two, but there's some cool locations. The first one is literally right as you walk in. It's a little bit slanted, but the chords are 17, 14. This entire platform is buildable. And the reason I like this platform, you're close to water right over there. You're close to a bunch of resources all down beneath you, and nothing spawns up here. Plus you control the up and down, which is kind of cool. And there's a couple of cool little tuckaways that you can go into directly underneath here. And you can kind of see that you can build up inside of this, which is really neat. Like just have your walls pre-built into here. So it kind of just gives you a unique zone to be able to build in. So I like it for that reason. So definitely think about that spot. Now, down in the actual Sunken Forest, sorry, I'm kind of going quick here, but I'm trying to get you a reasonable time video, so it's not like 40 minutes long. This is the Sunken Forest. If you haven't been down here, it's a really cool zone. A lot of resources, a lot of stuff that exists down here. But, you know, it's up to you what you want to take, what you don't want to take. Excuse me. But yeah, the entire zone is really neat, really cool to build in because it's so pretty. It's kind of got that darkness to it, which is kind of fun. You can see that you've got these giant rays of sunshine that come down, and that kind of leads me to my first spot, but you know, it's up to you if you want to build up here. This is a platform ledge that I love to build on. Tons of metal, so if you're okay getting rid of the metal resources, this is a cool spot to build because you can take over the entire ledge. Coordinates are 14, 6.5. And yeah, it's just a fun spot to build. As long as you're okay getting rid of the resources, the entire thing is kind of above the entire Sunken Forest. So it's cool to be able to look to your left and right and just have these really neat scenes or scenery, I suppose you could say. And that's a really cool place to build just because of that reason. Now, if you're not okay getting rid of the metal, build across the way on this platform. And this, it doesn't have as much metal or resources on it, but it does have a large platform. It's not the tallest one, but you still get some of the cool shining lights and stuff like that. So you could easily build right over here on this side in basically the same chords and not have any problems at all. So again, platforms are kind of what I look for building, just because for building purposes, it's a lot easier to build using platforms. So that's why I kind of look for those when I'm playing on my PVE style servers. Now, there's lots of zones in here that you're probably obviously looking at. You're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. You can build in pretty much everything in this zone. It's up to you if you want to. I just like to build higher up than on the ground because I don't know, I just think it looks cool when you're higher up, but it's up to you. So I like to build right next to Blue Ob if I'm going to build here. There's a little mini lake, and this mini lake is kind of neat because it goes all the way down and it's big enough to host any water creature you have. So let's say you have a mosasaur from another map or something like that. This lake is just big enough to house all of that, and squids, everything you could need. And the flat area up above can be built on. Plus you've got like this little micro cave if you want to think of it that way. And the flat area up here can be super cool. Coordinates 20, 16.5. So I'm kind of just going to go through and show you the the rest of them. You can kind of build in this entire zone. I would aim to build a little higher so you don't have people trying to troll you. But if you really want to do something kind of unique and different, this island right here in the middle of all of this water, coordinates 9.7, 22.5. This thing you can build on and kind of have like a moat, which is kind of cool. So if you just build a giant fence around the outside, you're close to a ton of resources. Plus beaver dams will spawn the entire way around the outside of you, which is really nice, obviously, because, well, who doesn't like beaver dams? It's free resources plus cementing based. So not too bad. Plus it's a massive little island that you can build on. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is a little bit more for people that want to not necessarily fight a little bit more, but for people that don't mind getting, you know, assaulted by the natural wildlife in this game. Now, these are the wasteland bases. All of the base locations I'm about to show you are safe, which you will have to build some sort of defense to keep most of your stuff safe. So first location is right here, 36.9, 7.9. Now, this giant man-made structure, I don't know what you want to call it, a bunker or whatever you want to call it, building inside of this is super cool because you can build up on this ledge up here and the entire thing is flat and have a cool little view of the wastelands plus a massive base. Things will fall from up above and things will sometimes walk in this door. So you'll need like Velonosaurs lining these lines up here in order to just kill the corrupted creatures that come in here and try to kill your base. but a really cool location to build. Tons of room and only 1, 2, 3 ways in. So it's kind of cool. So as long as you defend those areas a little bit, you'll be just fine. So that's the first place that I like to build over in this zone. If you want to get cheeky, you can go over to this next zone. This is the sulfur pits. It's very hot, so you'll need some air conditioners and stuff like that. But there's a really cool, perfectly flat ledge with a built-in teleporter, transmitter, whatever you want to call it. And this area can be used in order to build a ton of stuff. Now, you can build on the entire thing. You can see that it's scalding hot, so you will have to have air conditioners and stuff like that to actually survive here. But there's a few little hidey holes, like this one over here, that you can build a lot of stuff inside of. It's a little bit meshy. Obviously, you saw me just like phase through the mesh there, but you can build inside of this and just stay flat to the ground. Pretty neat. Obviously, that's a mesh up there, but you can build inside of this just for safety purposes so things can't get to you. And there's a lot of space in here, so you wouldn't be super worried about, a lot of stuff just coming after and destroying you. So, kind of neat. But again, up to you if you want to build on this ledge. So, this is more of a PvP style build in there, but, kind of cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the last spot that I have for you. And this is a upper right corner spot. There's a few of these kind of massive metal structures out in the wastelands, or the whatever you want to call them. But this is one of my favorite places to build on any map, just because there's so much that you can do with it. This is another one of those bunkers, like I showed you earlier. And the coordinates of it, just so you can see, 4987. You can build in this tube. You can build on this platform. You can build up underneath this thing. You can build up above this thing and inside of this like glass dome structure kind of thing. You're going to need a little bit of base defense just because corrupted creatures will occasionally find their way inside of this, but it's not too hard to hold because you've only got 1, 2, and then the third entrance being this giant tube. Kind of neat. I don't know if this is supposed to be like a downed spaceship or what it's supposed to be, but it's a really cool structure that certainly deserves a little bit of attention for PvE purposes, and I would highly encourage you to build inside of it. So yeah, pretty neat. Who knows, hopefully all of those spots give you some ideas to build, and yeah, just a fun place to go, and hopefully you enjoy Extinction. If you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. All right, Teach out.